Are you clear on your finances? And when I talk about your finances, not necessarily all the big things, but even the little things, how you spend money. Is it a want or is it a need? The truth is, you can go out there and do anything that you want. Let's just make sure that we have the clarity to do things the right way. That is what we're talking about today with my expert, is how we can face our finances with better understanding so that we can leverage them to build our own personal strength, to create that long-term foundation so that we can have whatever it is that we desire. I'm Clara Capano, and this is Women Winning Their Way. Well, welcome everyone. We have another episode of Women Winning Their Way, and I'm really excited to dive into this topic. You know, going through changes, going through times of challenge is something that's just part of life. When we can learn, though, to face those challenges in a way that is going to be healthier for us, we're just going to be able to accomplish more. So I am really excited to bring on today's guest. This is Victoria Karloff, and this is what she specializes in, working with people, not just women, but working with people face times of challenge with more grace and the ability to move through them with more purpose and intentionality. So Victoria, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Clara.
Yeah. So, we met a couple of years ago. You were a guest on our other show, Living Real. And I wanted to bring you back because you are just doing some things that really impact all lives. It's that ripple effect that we have. So I would love to, before we dive into the meat of the show, I would just love to ask you, when you hear the title of our show, Women Winning Their Way, what does that even mean to you?
That means living authentically and not being afraid to face hard things, but doing so with your most core tenets taking center stage. As you mentioned earlier, like life comes at you a million miles an hour, and it's all about how you react and respond, because you're not going to be in control, unfortunately.
I know, as much as we try, right? Yeah,
Yes.
Understanding that. So that's great. So, this is a very unique place, and we talk about being able to maneuver through, and we have this overwhelming umbrella of it, but not a lot of people strategically are helping others move through these times. Whether it's divorce, the death of a loved one, bankruptcy, whatever it is, this is what you specialize in. And I would love to just hear a little bit about, how did you even end up here? What called you to be able to be an expert in guiding people through these changes in a way that is more strategic, that will help them long term?
Well, I like to say I deal with the 4 horsemen of the financial apocalypse. Divorce, death, drink, and dice. Mm-hmm. And really, life is so challenging, and we have a wonderful gift being Americans. We have so many more resources than most other people in the world, but somewhere along the way, money becomes a drug instead of a tool. And we all have this very challenging relationship with money, and, different stages for different people. But as you are going through these major life transitions, whether you're dealing with a divorce, or maybe your spouse passed away, or potentially you have some kids that have some addiction issues and you're concerned with how they're going to manage their inheritance, like everything comes down to having these courageous conversations and developing a strategy that not only achieves your desired outcome, but preserves your relationships and resources along the way. Because, I think a common misconception is that money solves everything. But what it really does is it can, it's not going to make you happy, but it can change it and it can make it easier. But also, what normally happens when you're not using money effectively and efficiently, it becomes a weapon. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the times when I'm dealing with these situations like a divorce, there's some type of financial infidelity that's been involved. And there's so many negative emotions tied to family finances that when you're going through and trying to piece everything out when someone dies, or you're going through the divorce, you have to uncover those financial feelings and come to terms with it.
Right. If I'm hearing you correctly, one of the things that I took a note on is that, again, money may not be the solution, but it can give you the tools that you need to go through things and, in a more strategic and more purposeful way.
Absolutely. When you're going through, a lot of people aren't aware, but essentially an estate mediation and a divorce, or sorry, an estate administration and a divorce, these are legal operations that have financial implications tied to it. And if you don't understand how money is impacting what you're going through, you are simply not able to come up with a good solution because it's very myopic.
Right.
And the crappy thing is like women, especially in this country, have been, well, we're not very well educated along the way to learn how to manage money. And so I deal a lot with clients that even maybe they're the high income earning spouse, they have all of these unresolved financial feelings, and it really is hard for them to dig into the meat of things. And so, I essentially developed my financial acumen because of my dad. And I'm really standing on the shoulders of a giant, but, he understood that he would always say that if it cannot be expressed in numbers, it cannot be expressed at all. And he was an older father. My mom and dad have a very traditional marriage. She stayed at home for the majority of my life. He worked outside and, kind of took care of all of the lifestyle operations and the money that went along with it. And so he knew that based off of how their relationship was set up, it was very important for me to become trained in the family finances. He would say, kid, I love your mother, but cooking and finance, those are two things she just doesn't need to do. And so, it was really my dad taking me under his wing and showing me how money works that has enabled me to really face my own horrible freaking life situations and come out ahead. Not even like, a short stretch, but all of my most successful events in life have happened after I faced the dragon, whatever it was, whether it was my dad's stroke or my separation from Voldemort or having to rebuild after that whole thing. Once I understood that, once I understand the money, I can get what I want because I know exactly what my bottom line is and I can make decisions from a place of empowerment. Yeah. And it's when you don't know how much your lifestyle costs or, what your post-divorce life expenses are going to be, that you stay in that place of purgatory and fear. And the whole purpose is to win our own way.
Exactly. It's interesting that you bring that up. It's making me reflect on my life's journey. I like to feel that I've always been, fairly smart with my money, investing it, saving it, all of those things. There was a time where it was probably when I was about, 36 years old. And this is when I was deciding to leave my job in leadership, and go into my role in consulting. So again, picking up the salary, the 401k, all of those. And at the same time, I was a single mom and also going and getting my master's degree. And I was so afraid because for the first time, I wasn't going to have what we call the security of a paycheck, and wondering how I was going to do it. And I remember, when you talk about when you know the money, you can have more confidence. I remember having a conversation with my mom and she says, Clara, we're never going to let you be homeless. And just that knowing and that confidence of, what, I'll be okay. She kind of took care of that ethereal money issue for me by letting me know I'm always going to have a roof over my head so I could go in with the confidence that I needed. So, I've seen that as well. And like you said, when you can lay it out, and I think sometimes when we get in these moments, we are emotional because it's life. And we need someone like you, not getting rid of the emotions, but bringing in the logic along with it, bringing in again that side so that we can see it from a logical perspective, because I think that is the side that gives us the comfort and security. With my name, I talk all about bringing clarity to people, because when you're clear, you're out of confusion. And in a sense, that's exactly what you're doing on the financial side. You're getting them out of confusion and into clarity by helping them see the path to the future. And I think that that's really wonderful. So maybe dive a little bit deeper with maybe even some of your clients that you've worked with, or, especially as women in business, Why is this so important? I like to think that, as women, we do as a whole tend to be more emotional than men. Not always, but we tend to. But why is this something that, we really need to think about as women? You mentioned the idea that we haven't been as educated, but what are some other things? And again, maybe some success stories that you've had in working with people?
Well, I think it's important for us to realize that our core wounds, our childhood trauma, essentially, it impacts not only the men that we pick and marry, but also our relationship and attachment to money. You
Mm.
mentioned, Clara, how once your mom told you you had some financial stability, you felt so much more empowered to take that next step. And it's from that connection to money that you're able then to either better your mindset, or you can start swirling down the drain with those negative thoughts. And our mind thinks, I think it's estimated between 60 to 90,000 thoughts a day. And they also state that about 60% of those can be negative.
I know.
And well, if you think about it from a biological evolutionary perspective, it made sense to always source what the future threat was, especially, if you go back, we're living in huts. You don't want to be eaten by that saber-toothed tiger. So your brain's constantly on the watch for threats. And sometimes it gets off kilter due to essentially it comes down to, with those core wounds, abandonment, betrayal, and lack of validation. And so this shows up in how we feel and relate with our money. For me personally, I grew up with immense privilege, but then my mom, on the other hand, was constantly telling me that it's my money, not yours. And when I would go out, I have this very vivid memory in my mind when I saved up. I bought myself my first nice piece of jewelry about 16 years old. It was a rainbow sapphire bracelet, a Hellsberg diamond, and my mom, when I brought it home, she was so mad at me. And she said, "How dare you buy that in front of your cousin?" And she was so upset. And I had worked hard. I had saved my money, and it created this feeling of shame. And it further then led to me as an adult not feeling comfortable spending my money on myself. And so this would manifest in my relationships where, even though my partner was making good money, I would step in and be like, "No, I got that." And it wasn't until I actually understood that this wound was related to my mommy issues that I was then able to transition from spending my money on everybody but me to then having a more healthful relationship and thinking it is okay. I can have nice things, and I can also save for a rainy day, and I could take care of those that I love within reason.
Exactly. Because again, when you get that vision and, connecting it again with, what's important to you, for some people, it's spending money on experiences. For others, again,
Mhm.
it's buying them a reward. I know some people that, they're like, if I achieve this goal, I'm going to buy myself that car. And they shouldn't feel shame, because all of those things, like you said, within reason, are an investment in us. And when we invest in ourselves, again, we feel better. We feel
Mhm.
more empowered. For you, it was the rainbow sapphire. For me, it was the leather biker jacket. And I remember getting the scolding, and I'm like, but it's my money that I earned. And it was, again, then from there, it was like always, like I felt like I had to justify.
Mhm.
Now in my 50s, I'm in a place where I don't really feel I need stuff. I want the experiences. And
Yes.
if I can go on a trip to Paris or Greece or wherever, I'm not going to feel guilty about it because I've earned it. So again, really taking that back
Mhm.
and believing in yourself, I think, is a huge thing. And that's what I love that you're doing, is you're never telling people they can't do things. You're just helping them to lay it out in a logical sense, so it's in alignment with their vision,
Mhm.
in alignment with who they are. And you had mentioned early in the conversation, again, lining it up with your core essence and bringing that together.
Yes.
So I think that is, really beautiful. So, as an expert, if somebody is watching this, where is maybe like a starting point? What is like one thing that people can do to sort of start the catalyst to get themselves going in a healthy direction?
So the most important thing you can do with your relationship with money is to gain awareness. And that's where it begins. Rome wasn't built in a day. And most of us, when it comes to money, I know I avoided it for a very long time. I would, pay my bills and I would hold my breath and pay my taxes. And thank God I got it done. I would just move on to the next thing. But that didn't enable me to have enough awareness around the process and making sure that I was using my money in accordance with my greater goals, as you mentioned. And so what I have found to be the most helpful is actually developing a mindful spending practice. And so this is essentially a few questions that you ask yourself as you're consuming goods and services. So the first thing that you ask is, how am I feeling right now? Am I in an emotionally agitated state? Am I seeking external validation for an internal problem? And even if that answer is yes, you can still move forward with purchasing something, but you just need to know how you are using money, because it's either a tool or a drug. Right. There's no real in between. And, it can be even down to when I like to go to the mall and purchase something, those jeans are utilitarian, but that designer handbag, that 100% is me using money as a drug, because I am wanting that for a status symbol or whatever it is. It's making me feel better emotionally. And so when you are using your emotions to understand if you are purchasing a want or a need, then you can actually go into the other parts of the decision tree, because how you purchase a want is so much more differently than how you purchase a need. And with a need, you have to ask yourself, is this a big ticket item like a mortgage, right? And here's where the law of exponential numbers kind of overwhelms our brains. I think most civilizations had up to 3 numbers, because either you had 2 groups of 3 or you had, 1. Right. And so when you start adding commas and zeros to the equation, it's very hard for our minds to conceptualize what this means in the long run. And so if you are looking for a new mortgage and there's an interest rate that's 7% and another place that you have to maybe fill out some other paperwork, but they can give you a lower rate, it might not seem worth it if it's 0.5%, because it doesn't seem like it's that big a deal until you actually blow it out and realize that that could mean several thousands of dollars, and it is worth doing that extra step. And so a lot of my clients, I've seen them, they'll drive clear across town to get, $5 off at Marshall's across, over there. But they will miss those larger opportunities to really save money and to make decisions that are in accordance with their bigger goals.
Yeah. Fantastic.
A big difference.
Very big difference. Just again, assessing, like you said, it's not that you can't do it, but just understanding it and then starting to track it to see if, I even do this with even food. I tend to be an emotional eater. So it's I go to the, refrigerator. Am I truly hungry, or am I just feeding the emotion?
Precisely. Yeah.
And trust me, sometimes I still go for the emotional eating. Sometimes I still go for the ice cream and the peanut butter and the chocolate, but at least I know.
Well, and then you could truly enjoy it because you know that you're deviating from something that you normally would do. So fully celebrate it. Don't live in a place of lack, right? There is so much out there that you can be doing to live that winning way, right? And the most important thing is to have that internal dialogue. So if I'm going to go be a little bit ostentatious and buy myself a stupid handbag, I at least get to enjoy it, and I'm not going to beat myself up because I've taken the steps in the other areas of my financial life that I feel secure. And if I go blow with a couple $1,000s, that better give me what I'm looking for. Otherwise, there's something else I should be doing with my money.
Exactly. Love that. Oh my God, Victoria, you are amazing. And I really just am so grateful that our paths crossed a couple years ago, and to be able to have you here, because I think that this is something that everybody can relate to. It's that relationship that we have. And when we want to win on our terms and do it our way, we've got to be able to understand the thought process behind this so we can grow stronger. So I would love to ask, what is next for Victoria? What are you working on right now?
Well, I am really invested in helping my post-divorce clients, really women in general. I serve everyone, but I'm very passionate about helping women, especially rebuild after a financial transition like a divorce. And I'm invested in helping them upgrade their money mindset and developing a new way of interacting with the world so they can actually win on their own terms and move forward in the manner they see fit.
That's amazing. And we're going to have all of your information in the show notes, because I know there's going to be some people out there that want to connect with you, learn more, and maybe even, hire you to help them. So, Victoria, I have one last question for you before we close things out today. As you sit where you are today, how do you define success for yourself now?
Man, that is a great question. Success means getting to wake up when I'm done sleeping, and making decisions that actually my future self would be proud of.
Oh, I love that. That is so great. Reminds me of Matthew McConaughey when he talks about who his hero is. And again, looking back, and he wants to be the hero for, his current self in the future. I love that. Victoria, thank you so much. I took away so many nuggets of this. I think, again, the idea that you just need to know. And when you get that clarity, everything else helps you. So thank you so much. And for those of you who have been here, make sure that you reach out and follow Victoria. So have a great day. Thanks, Victoria.
Thank you, Clara.
What I loved so much about this talk with Victoria is it made me giggle, because I talk about creating clarity and getting people out of confusion. And she does the exact same thing. I just do it on the business side. She does it on the financial side. Some of the things I love that she talked about as I took my notes, it's, make money a tool for you. We talked about the idea of, is it a want or a need? It's okay if you want to spend money on something that you want. Just know that. Start looking at it. If you want to buy something because it's going to make you feel good, if you want to go and get your hair done because it's going to build your energy, that might be a want, but it's an internal compass. It's an internal investment that helps you go forward. You just need to know. I love when she talked about getting educated. Again, know where you are spending your money. And she talked about going through the assessment. How are you feeling right now? Just being able to lock into that in how we are doing. I love that she talked about looking back, get in touch with your belief systems on money, because you might just need to be able to tweak those belief systems so that you can build a better relationship. What I also really love is giving yourself permission. It is not always about spending. That was something that I think was a misnomer to me. I thought wealth, smartness was in spending my money. The problem with that is I wasn't living. Sure, I had money saved up for a rainy day, but I wasn't living. Now I am clear. I still am very frugal in how I spend my money and very thoughtful in how I spend my money. At the same time, when I spend it, I enjoy it, because I'm creating experiences and I am confident in what I'm doing. And I just am bringing in, again, that harmony of the spending and the living. So I hope that you took away some of this. This is an episode I really encourage you to share it with those because I think all of us, not just women, really need to start to look at our relationship and build in a foundation so that we can start investing in our life more holistically. So thanks for tuning in. Make sure to share, rate, like, follow, and subscribe to the show. And I will see you next time for another episode of Women Winning Their Way.